Ever heard of the idea that men aren't into romance? Well, that's an assumption that's been floating around for a while. But here's a newsflash, it's not entirely accurate. Yes, you heard it right. It's a common stereotype that men are not as interested in romantic gestures as women. But let's break that myth right here, right now. Men, just like women, can be romanced and wooed, and they appreciate it too. Let's take John for instance. He's a guy who loves nothing more than a well-planned surprise date or a heartfelt love letter from his partner. Or consider Mike, who cherishes those quiet moments of holding hands and watching the sunset together. These are real men, folks, who adore being romanced in their relationships. So let's not box all men into a stereotype that doesn't hold water. Because, as it turns out, men can be just as romanced and wooed as anyone else. Another frequent assumption is that men only want one thing, but is that the truth? Let's dive into this stereotype head first. It's often touted that men are primarily driven by their physical desires. This belief, however, doesn't paint the full picture. Men, like anyone else, long for a deep and meaningful bond. They appreciate companionship, the kind that comes from shared experiences, common interests, and mutual respect. They value connection, an emotional tie that deepens over time with understanding and empathy. And yes, they desire love. A love that's not merely physical but emotional, intellectual, and spiritual. We can learn from real-life examples from men who express how they value these aspects in their relationships. Men who cherish the late-night conversations, the shared laughter, the comfort of a familiar presence. These are the elements that truly matter to them. So, men want more than just physical intimacy. They crave companionship, connection, and love. Do men have feelings? Some people seem to think otherwise. It's a common assumption that men don't feel emotions as deeply as women. This stereotype paints men as stoic, unfeeling figures, but the reality couldn't be further from the truth. Men, like all human beings, experience a full range of emotions. They feel joy, sorrow, anger, fear, love, and everything in between. Let's take John, for example, a firefighter who tears up every time he talks about saving a life. Or consider Mark, a corporate lawyer who feels deeply moved by music. These examples are not exceptions but reminders that men are just as capable of deep emotional experiences as anyone else. The difference often lies in expression. Society has conditioned many men to suppress their emotions, to maintain a facade of toughness, but this doesn't mean they don't feel. So, it's not that men don't feel emotions, they just express them differently. Are men really afraid of commitment? This is a question that often pops up in conversations and debates about relationships. The stereotype paints men as commitment-phobic, always on the run when the topic of long-term relationships comes up. But is this really the case? The reality is quite different. While it's true that some men may be wary of commitment, it's not a universal trait. Many men embrace the idea of commitment and long-term relationships. They appreciate the stability and companionship that come along with it. They are ready to invest their time, energy, and emotions into building a fulfilling relationship. Take John, for instance. He proposed to his girlfriend after just 6 months of dating, eager to step into the next phase of their relationship. Or consider Mike, who happily agreed to move in with his partner, excited to share their everyday lives. Clearly, men can be just as ready for long-term relationships as women. Is it true that men aren't good listeners? This is a stereotype that has been perpetuated for far too long. It's essential to understand that listening skills are not inherently gender-specific. Just as there are women who may struggle with active listening, there are men who excel at it. Consider John, a therapist by profession. Every day he listens to people's deepest fears and desires, providing empathy and understanding. Or take Alex, a stay-at-home dad who attentively listens to his children's stories, no matter how fantastical or long-winded they may be. These men, and countless others, show us that the ability to listen is not about gender, but about individual capacity and willingness. Furthermore, numerous studies have shown that men and women process information differently, which can sometimes be mistaken for lack of listening. So, let's debunk this myth once and for all. As we can see, listening skills vary among individuals regardless of gender. Do men dislike being vulnerable in relationships? This is an assumption that has been floating around for quite some time. The belief that men are stoic, unfeeling, and incapable of revealing their vulnerabilities is not only incorrect, but it's also damaging to the dynamics of relationships. Here's the truth. Men, just like anyone else, have fears, insecurities, and vulnerabilities. Many men are not only comfortable with vulnerability, but they also recognize its importance in fostering deep, meaningful connections. It takes courage to let down one's guard, to trust another with your deepest concerns and fears. From heartfelt conversations to emotional revelations, men across the globe are proving that vulnerability is not a sign of weakness, but rather a testament to strength and authenticity. Remember, vulnerability is the birthplace of connection. It's where love, belonging, and joy originate. So, many men are quite comfortable with vulnerability in relationships. Do men not care about their appearance? This is a question that's often raised, and it's rooted in a long-standing stereotype. The assumption is that men are indifferent to their looks, more focused on utility than aesthetics. But, let's take a closer look at this belief. Contrary to this stereotype, men do care about their appearance. They too have personal grooming routines, skincare regimens, and fashion preferences. They invest time in maintaining their physical health, grooming their beards, choosing their outfits, and even exploring the world of cosmetics. There are men who enjoy the art of dressing up, men who take pride in a well-trimmed beard, men who understand the importance of skincare. They're not exceptions. They're real men, debunking the stereotype, one well-tailored suit and moisturizing cream at a time. So, next time you hear someone say that men don't care about their appearance, remember the truth. As we've seen, men take their looks just as seriously as women do. Did you enjoy this eye-opening journey into the realities of men's lives? If you did, show us some love by hitting that thumbs up button. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments section. Do you agree with what we discussed? Or do you have a different perspective? Let's start a conversation. And if you're new to our channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. We regularly bring you videos that challenge stereotypes and give you a fresh perspective on everyday issues. Already a subscriber? Why not explore our other videos? We've got a whole range of topics waiting for you, from understanding women's perspectives to the science of attraction and so much more. So what are you waiting for? Dive right in. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and check out our other videos. Thanks for watching, and remember, let's keep breaking those stereotypes.